Okay, y'all, who would have thought we'd be living in times where dancing and lip syncing and pointing to text on video would be the way to meet our new readers and market our nonfiction books? Or is it? If you're using Instagram to market your books, you've likely seen the craze that is their feature called Reels. And you might be like me thinking, I'm just now getting consistent with posting on my feed and stories. And now you want to throw this wrench into things telling me Reels are the only thing our followers are going to see. Well, that's not exactly what they said, but Instagram did say they'd be putting a higher priority on showing engaging video content because that's what their customers are showing them they want more of. That's what they're engaging with. They're on Instagram to be entertained, inspired, and educated. And that's what we have to remember. We want to be showing our followers what they want more of, what they're engaging with. Because if we don't, you know what happens? Our followers can mute us. They don't even have to stop following us. They can just stop interacting with our post. They can simply mute our feed or mute our stories from showing up if they don't feel our posts are bringing value to their lives. I imagine that's what happens a lot with these follow for follow challenges where you grow your account by a bunch of followers, but then it doesn't lead to more social interaction or more book buying. Because they're not your ideal followers or readers. So Instagram stops showing our posts to those followers because they're all about giving their customers what they want more of. No engagement, no need to see it again. As much as we want to, we can't get upset about Instagram's algorithm and blaming it for our followers not seeing our post. Also, I don't know about you, but I follow 700 Instagram accounts. There's no way I can see all those posts and stories every time I decide to scroll Instagram. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I have found that the more I engage with content that I do want to see, the more of that content I see. Instagram is a free social platform, and they're letting us all play on it for free and advertise our books for free through the things that we post on their platform. So we have to play by their rules when it comes to posting and engaging. We're either going to pay to play or play to pay. We're either going to pay for advertising to show our post to those we want to see it, or we're going to play their way by creating content that they are saying works best on their platform. And remember, posting our content is only one side of the social equation. Social media is all about being social. There's both posting and engaging. And that's why I invited my friend Ruthie Gray onto the show today. Ruthie is an online marketing coach for female entrepreneurs and host of the Authentic Online Marketing Podcast. Ruthie specializes in teaching relational marketing, specifically how to do it best on Instagram. She's also a wife, a Gigi, an empty nester, and a nonfiction author of 2 books on motherhood. You'll find her authentically sharing about both business and life on her Instagram account at ruthiegray.mom. She entertains, she educates, and she inspires. She's helped me learn so much about engaging on Instagram for myself and my clients, though I'm still a work in progress. She's my go-to resource for staying up to date on the latest and greatest of everything Instagram. Y'all, she was talking about how to authentically use Reels way back in September of her podcast. So today's episode is all about using Instagram authentically to connect with your ideal followers on Instagram, because it's not about the number of followers you have, it's about the ideal readers and book buyers you're reaching and how you can build relationships with them both through how you post content and how you engage with content. So let's get to it. Hi, I'm Kim Stewart, and this is the Book Marketing Mania podcast. Let's learn and share together what's working now to meet new readers, market your message, and make a bigger impact online. Hey, Ruthie, I'm so glad to have you as a guest on the Book Marketing Mania podcast.
Oh, my goodness. We've been waiting to chat for weeks, it seems like. It's hard to get our schedules all jived up, but I'm excited, Kim.
Yeah, me too. So y'all know from my introduction, Ruthie is my go-to expert for Instagram. So wanted her to come on and just share encouragement with all the authors tuning in of how we can use Instagram as our social media platform to reach new readers, because we're all about meeting new readers, marketing our message, and making an impact. And Ruthie is the best at doing that on Instagram, and especially in a very authentic way. So before we get started, Ruthie, I did want to ask, can you share a fun fact about yourself for those that might be new to you and your platform?
A fun fact about me is, well, I'm just going to relate this to Instagram because my kids, it kind of drives them nuts. My Explore tab, the search tab, the page where it shows everything that you normally like to look at. It's full of animals like llamas, hamsters, hedgehogs, chihuahuas. I mean, I don't have animals anymore. I do not have pets. I do not like pets because I raised all the iguanas and the hamsters and the fish and the dogs and cats back in the day with 4 kids. But I think animals are so funny that I just blow up my kids' DMs with funny animals. And so one of them created a chat group called Mom's Animal Video Victims. And I contribute every single day. So that's what I do for fun.
Oh my gosh, how funny. There are some funny ones. But when you go to that search box, oh my gosh, there's crazy stuff that show up. Okay. And secondly, I want to ask, what is your Enneagram number?
I am a 9.
Oh, me
1.
too.
Are you?
Me too. Yeah. I knew we liked each other for a reason.
This is why we're friends. We're 9s. We don't want anyone to be mad at us. We're going to say yes to all the podcast interviews, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you did this one.
No, I really, I love you.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we're the peacemakers. Okay. All right. So here on the podcast, Ruthie, you're a nonfiction author as well. Everybody is at different places in their journey. And we know we're going to approach Instagram differently, but we do have a common goal that we want to connect with our target readers online through Instagram. And we want to share our unique message that's going to impact their lives from our books. And so let's dive in just to how we can use Instagram authentically to connect with our target readers and especially have fun at the same time, because you are a great example of doing that. So first, can you kind of just talk through some best practices that authors could use when they're posting on Instagram? I know there's different places. There's the feed, there's the stories, Instagram Live, Instagram TV, Reels, of course, is hot right now. Can you just kind of touch on those a little bit and talk about how we can do that in an authentic way?
Well, I think it's important to share a little bit of your life so that people can develop that know, like, and trust factor with you. I always advise everyone, not just authors, to share in stories, like share a day in the life or even behind the scenes. You will connect with your audience more if you just share your life, like not everything, but just things that are routine to you or funny things. Like I just shared about, we have a motor coach and we travel in it and people are interested in that, but we got stuck wedged underneath a tree and had a giant dent in the top of our motor coach. So everyone was all up in our business about that one, and it provided a lot of entertainment. But, if you can learn to laugh at yourself or share even your struggles, things like that, I think stories are great. I think if you can be in stories, in reels, in IGTV, live video, and the feed, it all works together, because not everybody's, is present in all of those. Like a lot of people just watch stories. Mm-hmm. A lot of people only watch reels. A lot of people just pay attention to the feed. So if you can work, 3 to 5 of those areas, we call them neighborhoods, into your, routine, I say it's really good for authors to be present and seen in all of these different areas and not just by my book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely going to be my next question about that. What kind of content can you share that's not saying buy my book? So talk about, like, just from a video perspective, like if an author wanted to share on Instagram TV or Instagram Live or even Reels, again, that are so hot right now, what would you recommend them sharing? I know a lot of the authors that we know, we're so used to sharing just memes, right? Just the flat static memes. How do you transfer that to a video content?
It's really good if you can, let's say, for instance, you want to create exposure for your book. You could do that by teaching a tip through a reel, 15 or 30-second reel. And then at the bottom, put a caption on top of your video. It says, for more information, head to my link in bio, or read the caption, and then write a longer caption and draw the reader in even further about this tip. Make it a pain point, and then talk about, this is in my book. Go hit my link in bio to read more about my book. So something as simple as that, just little different nuggets from what you're teaching, from the pain points of your book or the struggles or triumphs in each of those different platforms. And then as far as something else that people really like is behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are developing the book and you're going to the printers, take a story of that or go live with that or the process that you're going through, or involve your readers in the book covers. Let them vote on book covers and cover art and things of that nature. Behind the scenes is huge for developing know, like, and trust. And then something else, as far as launching, I advise people to do either a live or an IGTV, like celebratory. For instance, Chris and Jamie Bailey are longtime clients of mine, and they just released a book. They're marriage counselors. They released a book. They secured a book deal on Instagram through a hashtag.
Oh, wow.
Because, yes, it's so exciting because she'd been working with me for a while and I helped her figure out her hashtag game. And that's how the publisher found them.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they didn't even have a super large audience, but their audience was super engaged, which is another, important thing to focus on, not numbers, but engagement. If you flip back in October, November, they did a reel and they did this confetti thing where they were really excited about it. They talked about book signings and things like that. And you can even do like giveaways and things like that when it comes out. So I think it's important to at least announce on launch week that you have the book there and focus on that for launch week. It's okay to say, buy my thing on launch week. I just had another client, and these people are now members of my Instagram memberships called The Insiders. Brenda McDermott from Texas Over 50 just released a book. You probably know her.
I doubt. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love her stuff. And I did see that. And she, of course, gave you credit for teaching her. So I love that.
She's so kind. It's called The Big Hunker Down, about job loss. And she took the principles that I teach inside my membership on how it's not good to say buy my thing all the time, but on launch week, yes, launch week is your week to shine. And she's done it in several different ways. She has shared how it came about. She's shared in Reel. She's gone live a couple times. And those are all different ways that you can do that and say buy my thing on that week.
Right. On launch week. I mean, just kind of using what all is there on Instagram, right? Because, like you said, your readers might be in different places on Instagram and it's what they prefer to see. And so you want to cater to that. But also I love some of the ideas you gave. They're not necessarily your face on video always, which I'm always not real crazy about myself to do. So it's kind of nice. Some of those behind the scenes of you writing your book or getting ready to publish your book and launch your book, all those kinds of things could also be done with you not on video, if that's your preference. Ruthie does a great job of reels, and you have several IGTV videos to talk about reels and just how to perform on Instagram. So I'm going to encourage everyone to hop over there for much more detail than we're getting into today. But for the Instagram feed, and you talked a little bit about your captions, not always saying buy my book, but when you're putting together that caption, do you have some tips you can share of what would be some attention grabbing copy as well as call to action that we can put in there that isn't just the quote from my book and buy my book?
Yeah. If you are an author, you are a writer at heart. And I don't think that you just grab copy from your book. I think it's really important to lean into your craft and to put thought into those captions. And I have a free resource called Instagram Caption Blueprint, which you can find on my website at ruthiegray.mom. But one of the things that we advise inside that resource is to start with a hook. Say something catchy, a punchy line. Don't just start out with, the other day I was folding laundry and then I saw a dog passing by and I wondered about that dog. And then, my dog started barking and then everything, you want to start it out by say something like true or false. And you're asking for opinions, or I don't know who needs to hear this, but you can make it today. Something attention grabbing, a hook. Authors know about hooks. So hook, then body. Try not to make all your sentences run together. Spacing is good. We learned this in in blogging camp. Readers like lots of white space. So make sure you have that white space there. Try to use some emojis, like a couple, not all of them, but just a couple targeted to pull the eye along. If you hate emojis, okay, that's okay. But use spacing and then end with a call to action always. You're not going to get readers really involved if you just talk at them. There's got to be a call to action, and they can't always be, they can, and a lot of people do this, but I see this as a common mistake that authors make is head to my LinkedIn profile to read my book or to buy my book or to read my blog. They say that every time. And what you need to do is something I call dropping the breadcrumbs, where every time you give a call to action, but it's not go head to my link in bio, it's double tap if you agree, or drop your favorite emoji if you're feeling this Monday, or a simple question, like even as far as yes or no, do you like coffee? You know?
I think that's so good because you're right. As authors, that's all we're thinking, right? We're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to get people to buy the book and join my email list or, whatever I have going on. But we don't always think, oh, a call to action is just getting that engagement back and forth, right? Just talking to our readers. Hey, I wanted to give a quick shout out to one of our listeners who left a review of the show. Christine says, I am so excited about this podcast. Finally, someone to help me explore the marketing tools I need as an author while giving me permission to only do the things that will work for me and my community of readers. Thank you, Christine. Christine is the nonfiction author of Over It, Conquering Comparison to Live Out God's Plan. And you can connect with her on Instagram at Christine Brown Writer. That's Christine with a K. And hey, if you'd like to have a shout out on the show, be sure to leave a review. I'd be so grateful, and it will help other authors discover the show. So I wanted to ask you about hashtags. I guess there's kind of a twofold thing on hashtags. But first off, do you recommend authors have a hashtag for their book? And what would the purpose would be for that?
I think it's good to have a hashtag at the name of the book, because you can even during that launch week put it in your link in bio, and then it's clickable. And then people can go and see all of the different images that you've created using that hashtag. And then they can see all of the information that you have about that book. It's like you have curated your own hashtag hub.
And so what about using hashtags? And I know you have an episode on this that we'll have to link in the show notes, but what about using the hashtags to find and engage with our readers?
Let's take me, for instance. I teach Instagram, but Instagram tips is not really what my audience is looking for. They're looking for social media marketing. They're looking for marketing tips and things like that. So I have to kind of go broader to find them. And then I also have to narrow down who are these people. They're not just people that are studying Instagram. There is a bigger picture. So my demographic are people mine and your age. We're in midlife, where we're either empty nesters or we're getting ready to be, which means we are probably getting ready to be GGs or already are. We are ready to live our lives the second half and speak out and be confident and bold and brave. And so those are the kind of hashtags also that I use. Empty nesters, RV travelers, motor coach, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just about your message, but it's the intersection of your readers and their lifestyle and their demographic that you need to look for.
Yeah, because it's not just like if you wrote a book for women, you're not just trying to reach women or moms. There's so many other things, right, that they may be searching for and kind of engaging with on Instagram. And you kind of want to be in those same circles, right? You kind of want to enter into those conversations and then they can come and discover more about you and your book. What about a balance between how much you should be posting content and how much time you should be spending engaging with your current followers or possibly new readers that might turn into followers? How do you coach people through how they spend their time on the platform?
Well, we so badly want to get our message out and we want everyone to receive it. But honestly, I advise everyone, not just authors, to spend twice as much time on engagement as you do posting your own content, because Instagram is not like Facebook. It's not like Pinterest. It's not like Twitter, especially Pinterest and Twitter are all about you just post your content and run. But Instagram isn't like that. Instagram is like, it's about relationships because this translates into DM conversation. And this is something I teach inside my Insider membership, my community marketing framework. It's all about relational marketing is what it is. So you have to develop those relationships. You have to slow down, take the time to leave value comments on your followers feed, and then reach out to new followers through the hashtags that you develop or that you study that you need for your niche that depict the person that your ideal audience member is. It's just spending the time really connecting with others is what's going to reap the benefits and come back to help you in the long run if you really invest in others is the thing. I always say you can't outgive Instagram if you really go there to serve your audience.
Mm-hmm. And I think that jives so well with our listeners, right? Is that's their whole purpose, right? They wanted to help people when they wrote their book. And I know social media gets such a bad vibe on the time consumption that it does take a lot of time. But I think really figuring out where are you spending that time. And if you can focus on, I'm headed there to engage with my target reader, like I'm really going to build a relationship with them versus I'm just going to go scroll and waste time, right? For a couple of hours, which we all know we can do.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Hey, so you mentioned earlier about using your book hashtag in your bio. Do you have any other tips for maximizing that space in your bio around your book launch time?
Yeah, I think that you should definitely tailor your bio to that certain time period. Usually, I advise authors to show their face for their profile picture, but during a book launch, you can feature your book as your bio picture. And you only get a few characters to describe in the bio what you're trying to do. So you want to make it really actionable words. Think, I help blank do blank so that blank, or I wrote blank so that blank. You want people to know why you wrote the book and what it's about and how it's going to help them. And then you probably want to have just a single link that points straight to that book's landing page during that launch. Or wherever it is that you really want people to go to get that book. That's what needs to be there. So it needs to be crystal clear during that book launch that that's exactly what's happening.
You're really guiding your readers where you want them to go and engaging with them. I love that idea of changing your profile that way. Because so often we think of, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, and here's my website, right? We don't, because we think that's what we need to have the forefront, which can be sometimes. But I think that's a great tip on, especially during a book launch, when you have you're hopefully engaging with a lot of your readers even prior to that time. But at that time, they can click on your bio immediately and see, oh yeah, this is an author that wrote a book just for me and I need to go buy it, and click on that link. So you also touched on this just a tad earlier, and I did want to ask you about author platforms and numbers, because we so often hear from publishers we have to have a big platform if we want to go with a traditional publisher, or even if we're going to self-publish, we just kind of get wrapped up in we have to have this big following like on Instagram, and it's going to somehow translate to big book sales if we have a big following. I love that you just gave an example of one of your clients that secured a book deal on Instagram and didn't have a big following. So can you kind of just talk through that a little bit, what you've seen with maybe some of your author clients and their numbers, or whatever size numbers they happen to be at, but just maybe how we can, I guess, stay focused on what you shared already, just stay focused on serving our readers and not get focused on the number of followers we have.
Right. I think that part of that comes with really laying it in the Lord's lap and committing it to Him that the right followers will come and that you will build an authentic way. And then what I see is, and this isn't like, don't say this is like from a publisher's mouth, but I hear a lot of this from authors that come to me is that they need at least 2,000 followers. Sometimes they can go a little bit less, but they know that that's difficult. It's a hard road to grow followers that quickly, but you can if you really decide to hunker down for a better a better expression. I'm thinking of I've got Brenda's book on my mind now, but I think it's really good to just pick one platform. And it seems like a lot of Christian authors are being led or geared towards Instagram. So if you're going to do that, then try not to be spread out everywhere else, and have a goal and get some good training, get some strategy training. This is what I teach inside my membership. I have an insider intensive that's launching again in September. I teach clients one-on-one. You need your own strategy so that you can move forward. And like my clients like Brenda and even Jamie, in the first quarter of 2021, they gained 200 ideal followers in the first quarter by just taking my advice and my strategies and just hunkering down and really working on their strategy and focusing on their followers. So you can grow your audience by 200 people in a quarter. And I think that's a really great goal. You can accelerate it with Reels right now, because Reels are hot and heavy, and that's what Instagram wants you to use, because they are competing. Their top competitors are YouTube and TikTok, and they are trying to outdo them. So if you have any inclination at all, you should be using Reels to help grow your audience, because Instagram is going to help you right now do that.
I love that you said ideal followers, right? Because we could grow, like you say, a lot faster. We could find all kinds of crazy ways, right, to grow our platform and have big numbers. But if they're not your ideal readers that are going to buy your book, what difference does it make, right? That you have some big number on your bio, and it's may not translate to book buyers, which is what we all want, right? So as you're being my guest today on the podcast, let's talk about podcast guesting, one of my favorite topics to talk about and help people with. Can you give us some strategies for engaging and building relationships with podcast hosts on Instagram? Because that's one of the very first things I talk about in my mini course I have on podcast pitching, is just, not to go in blind to these podcast hosts, to really show them that, you listen to their podcast, you're following them, you're sharing, you're reviewing their show, all kinds of different things you can do to really show them you want to show up and serve their audience well. But how can we do that on Instagram? How can we authentically build a relationship with those hosts before we even send a podcast pitch?
Much the same as what I've already said. You need to start leaving authentic value comments on their site. Value comments are not "love it, this is great," or "this," heart, 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 heart. It's not a bunch of emojis. A value comment really digs in there and says, "I really enjoyed what you said in this post. I know one time I was out with my daughter and blah, blah, blah." You don't just go as fast as you can. If you really are serious about contracting these people or securing them or being on their podcast, then you need to show them that you are a value individual. You are a person of character. You need to interact with them, comment on their posts, start interacting with them in stories, use quick reactions, but also actual word, and start having conversations with them. Share their posts to your stories and tag them. They will notice. And, share a review of their book or of their podcast. They will probably notice and maybe even share to their highlight. So you build a relationship first and let them know, you're kind of in there for the long haul. And then they'll sit up and notice.
I'm glad you mentioned even sharing their book, because so many of the hosts, right, are authors nowadays. So it's kind of nice to let them know that you're also a reader of their book as well as a fan of their podcast. So you may have answered this earlier in the show. What is something you wish authors would stop doing on Instagram?
I wish they would stop saying "buy my thing." I wish they would stop leaving just static posts that are just mock-ups of their book and go buy it, And I know that a lot of it comes just out of they don't know, trying to make all the social media platform connections. But on Instagram, you really have to slow down. You have to slow your roll, because as soon as you come out of the gate saying "buy my book," that's the surest way to deaden your audience, So you got to back off and start just presenting yourself as a real person that you care about others.
That is what we typically want to post, right? Because again, that's our end goal. But I love that you kind of talk through how we're going to build authentic relationships on this platform. Then we don't want to come out of the gate with, "Hey, I have this book for you to buy. It's like, I want to get to know you and get to know my readers and their struggles. And then, oh, by the way, I have a resource that they'll, of course, discover on their own, possibly if we build a relationship with them. That's why I want to ask you, Ruthie, about that, because I know you work with lots of authors and you see lots of things, but I think so I want to make sure it's not like we're saying, oh, don't do this, right? There's a time and a place to do it. It's just not on your daily posting. This is also what the platform wants, right? I mean, this is what we have to remember, as you talked about in the very beginning, and the different things that Instagram has to offer is where, this is free advertising for us, right? That this is a platform we can use, but we want to use it to the best of our abilities, right? And maximize our time on there. You can go post all these things, but if you want the engagement and build relationships, then let's do it a different way so that we can, measure and make sure that our time is being spent wisely. So you mentioned a couple of your clients. Are there any other authors that you've seen that you think do a really good job on Instagram?
Some things that I have seen that, like I mentioned before, that do work well are giveaways to draw attention to your book, and collaborations for sure. Get someone that's on Instagram that really loves your book. That would be a good testimony, and go live with them. Or if you've co-written a book, go live with your co-author, or maybe someone else that has been involved in your book, like has done your cover art or anything like that. If you can go live with someone else and teach a valuable concept and deliver value on that going live week, even a concept that you touch on in your book, then that gives you two audiences. That gives you your audience, and that gives you your guest's audience. And so that gives you double exposure, hopefully some new followers, and possibly some new sales. So collaborate as much as possible, develop community on Instagram. That is what works. Someone I know who does this really well, a good friend of mine, is Krista Hutchins as well. She's very good at reaching out to other entrepreneurs and doing things with them like that, like lives. During COVID, she did lunch break lives and reached out to all kinds of people. Some of them she didn't even really know that well, and it helped her grow her audience. And then Krista came out with a line a day journal last year, and that thing exceeded her goals because she had researched her market and she had built relationships with her followers and with other entrepreneurs. And so that is really a biggie that I see kind of missing as we try to do it on our own, try to go solo. So build that community, both laterally and, with your followers, so that you can have people who have your back, have your launch team.
And Krista was a previous guest on the show. And I asked her, I think it was a separate conversation for another time that we're going to have, but I asked her what is working best for her to meet new readers. And she absolutely said, hands down, going live on Instagram. And I know you played a big part in that because I see her doing that. I follow her and I see her always showing up for her followers and definitely always giving value for sure. I hardly ever see her mention her book. She's just so good about sharing all her tips and things that just, we want to naturally go check her out and go to her website and see what she has to offer, because she showed up authentically just like you do. So, thank you, Ruthie. We could just talk, I know, for hours about Instagram, but there's no sense in doing that because Ruthie's amazing podcast just went through a rebrand, the Authentic Online Marketing with Ruthie Gray. So I highly encourage everyone to go check that out. And then can you share, you did say, I know you have a free resource on your website as well as some other things coming up. If you'd like to share those with our listeners, that would be great.
Yeah, just head to my website, ruthiegray.mom, and you will see a place to sign up and get my free Instagram caption blueprint. And then you will be on my newsletter, and I email my readers every week and give them little tips that I don't give anywhere else. And we have a lot of fun with that newsletter. And then I am coming out with a Reels training resource really soon. Yay. Get it? And because we need to be equipped and ready to use, like you said, Instagram is going to push out what they want with the algorithm. So we have to work with them. So let's get prepared and ready.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Ruthie. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here to serve the listeners.
Oh, anytime, Kim. I really enjoyed it. And good luck on your podcast. I think it's going to be amazing. You have a great voice.
You're so sweet. Thanks. Oh my gosh, y'all, that was a lot of information and we could have talked for hours. Social media is always changing and it's such a great tool to help us market our books. I imagine we'll have many more episodes on Instagram in the future. And so my challenge for you this week, take Ruthie's advice. Share a little bit of your life on Instagram, maybe a day in your life, whether that be your personal life or your business life as an author. Let your target readers get to know you, not only as an author, but as a person they can relate to that struggles the way they do. Share some behind the scenes of what it's like to write a book and the problem you're solving for your readers. Remember what we talked about in episode 1, marketing is simply letting our readers know we can help them. Use Instagram to teach tips from your book that solve the pain point of your readers. Use hashtags effectively. You never know, you could even secure a book deal like Ruthie's clients. And if you're looking to be a guest on podcasts like we talked about in episode 3, use Instagram as a way to engage with those podcast hosts long before you send your pitch. And if you're interested in learning more about creating Instagram Reels, you can check out Ruthie's training that is now available, and I'll put a link in the show notes at bookmarketingmania.com/episode 4. It's a step-by-step crash course on how to create your Reels that's easy to understand and implement while keeping in mind what the algorithm wants and how you can remain authentic as you serve your ideal followers. I can't wait to put it into practice myself. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.